2025 F1 season just got even more interesting. If anyone thought Hamilton was going to struggle adapting to his new life in red, they might need to rethink that assumption fast. The seven-time world champion has already completed his first real experience with the SF25 at Fiorano, and let's just say, he wasn't exactly disappointed. In fact, he walked away impressed, and that should send shivers down the spine of the entire grid. The transition from Mercedes to Ferrari was supposed to take time. After all, Hamilton spent more than a decade molded around Brackley's engineering philosophy. But what if the transition is happening at lightning speed? What if Ferrari didn't just build a car that's an upgrade, but a machine that naturally suits Hamilton's aggressive, instinct-driven style? If that's the case, the 2025 season could be an all-out war, and Ferrari might finally have the weapon they've been waiting for. One of the biggest talking points heading into the season was Ferrari's rumored performance leap. Early estimates suggested a gain of up to 0.4 seconds per lap compared to last year's SF24. Now, if that improvement holds up in pre-season testing in Bahrain, Ferrari could be genuinely on par with Red Bull and McLaren. That's not just a small step forward, that's a paradigm shift. That's the difference between fighting for occasional podiums and mounting a full-scale title challenge. The first shakedown at Fiorano was Ferrari's first chance to put the SF25 through its paces, and it didn't take long for the excitement to build. Charles Leclerc was the first to get behind the wheel, completing around 30 laps. His immediate feedback? The car felt much more balanced, more predictable, and crucially, far more stable under braking. A clear sign that Ferrari has addressed some of its biggest weaknesses from 2024. Then came the moment everyone had been waiting for. At exactly 12:47 p.m. local time, dressed head to toe in Ferrari gear, Lewis Hamilton strapped himself into the SF25 and fired up the engine. The grandstands around Fiorano weren't full, but you could almost hear the collective heartbeat of Ferrari fans worldwide skip a beat. Hamilton, known for his methodical approach, started cautiously, learning the braking points, testing the throttle response, feeling out the car's balance. But after a few laps, the real Lewis Hamilton emerged. He started pushing harder, getting more aggressive, extracting more performance, and that's when Ferrari's engineers started taking serious notice. According to sources within the team, Hamilton was immediately impressed by three critical aspects of the SF25's performance. First, braking stability. Compared to his recent years at Mercedes, the Ferrari felt far more planted under braking, allowing him to carry more speed into corners without the rear stepping out. This alone could be a game-changer for his racecraft, enabling him to attack and defend positions far more aggressively than he could in the W13 or W14. Second, power delivery. Hamilton was full of praise for the way Ferrari's engine delivers its power. The throttle response felt smoother, more predictable, and more efficient, particularly in energy deployment. If Ferrari has found a way to optimize this without sacrificing outright speed, they could have a serious advantage in tire management and traction, two areas where they lagged behind in 2024. And finally, rear grip. Ferrari made serious efforts to improve stability by tweaking the suspension and aerodynamics, and it seems to be paying off. Hamilton felt much more confident pushing the car to its limits in high-speed corners, something that could make all the difference in crucial qualifying sessions. But here's where things really start to get spicy. According to early data, Hamilton's laps at Fiorano were already dangerously close to some of the best times ever recorded at the track. Reports indicate that Ferrari's pace was hovering around the 56.6-second mark, not far off Michael Schumacher's all-time Fiorano lap record of 55.999 seconds. Now, let's put that into perspective. This wasn't a full race simulation. This wasn't a finely tuned quali lap. This was a shakedown, in cold conditions, on non-official tires. If Ferrari is already clocking times that competitive, imagine what happens when they unleash this beast in full attack mode during testing and, ultimately, during the season. The whispers about Ferrari finding 0.4 seconds per lap are growing louder, and if that number is verified, we are looking at a team that could go toe-to-toe with Red Bull and McLaren for the first time in years. But the biggest unknown isn't just whether the SF25 is competitive. It's how Ferrari will handle what could become one of the fiercest intra-team rivalries in modern F1 history. Hamilton versus Leclerc. The past versus the future. The ultimate test of whether Ferrari can handle two alpha drivers fighting for supremacy under the same roof. Leclerc has been Ferrari's golden boy since 2019. He's endured the heartbreak, the near misses, the strategic disasters, all while remaining loyal to the team. He knows Ferrari inside out, and he won't back down without a fight. Meanwhile, Hamilton, despite his vast experience, is still the new guy in Maranello. He has to adapt to Ferrari's unique culture, to their way of operating, to a car philosophy that has been shaped around Leclerc for years. But Ferrari has a history of backing one driver over the other once the season kicks into gear. If Leclerc starts strong, will they subtly shift their support toward him? Or if Hamilton delivers immediate results, will Ferrari pivot toward their new megastar and seven-time champion? Since the days of Fernando Alonso, Ferrari hasn't had a driver with the kind of championship pedigree that Hamilton brings. If the SF25 is genuinely capable of challenging Max Verstappen, Ferrari will have to decide, sooner rather than later, who their best bet is for the title. Looking ahead to pre-season testing in Bahrain, we are about to get some real answers. Ferrari has already shown glimpses of serious pace, but Bahrain will be the first time we see the SF25 in direct comparison with Red Bull, McLaren, and Mercedes under full race conditions. If Ferrari's times from Fiorano translate to Bahrain, buckle up, because we could be in for Ferrari's strongest season in over a decade. However, if hidden weaknesses emerge, if the car doesn't scale well to different circuits, or if Red Bull pulls another rabbit out of the hat with an unmatchable upgrade, then Ferrari could still find itself playing catch-up as the season progresses. And then there's the bigger question. What is Hamilton's true goal here? Is it simply to secure an 8th world title and cement himself as the undisputed GOAT? Or is it something even bigger? For Hamilton, winning with Ferrari isn't just about statistics, it's about legacy. Schumacher was Ferrari. Hamilton wants to be the one who brings the Scuderia back to the top, the one who turns a decade and a half of frustration into triumph. He has repeatedly downplayed the importance of title number 8, instead focusing on the opportunity to bring Ferrari a championship it has been craving for years. But let's be honest, if he'd find himself in a title fight, do you really think he won't be thinking about surpassing Schumacher? Even more interestingly, what happens if Hamilton actually wins the title in 2025? Many assumed he would retire if he broke the record, but Hamilton himself has already dismissed that notion. If I'm lucky enough to win another championship, which is obviously the goal, I don't see myself stopping, he said recently. So, let's get this straight. If he wins, he stays. If he doesn't, he still stays to keep chasing it. Either way, he's in this for the long haul. Hamilton isn't just looking at Ferrari as a short-term project. He wants to build something, to create a lasting impact, to be more than just another name in the Scuderia's long history. At the heart of all this remains one crucial truth. Everything depends on whether the SF25 is truly the game-changer Ferrari believes it to be. If it is, we could be about to witness one of the greatest battles in F1 history. If it isn't, Hamilton's task will be even harder than he anticipated. And then, of course, there's the elephant in the room. Leclerc isn't going anywhere. The Monegasque has waited years for Ferrari to deliver a title-winning car. Now, if Ferrari has finally done it, he's not going to roll over and let Hamilton take all the glory. If Ferrari's SF25 is truly the game-changer it appears to be, then 2025 might not just be the year the Scuderia returns to the top, it could be the year that reshapes the entire F1 hierarchy. The battle between Red Bull, McLaren, and Ferrari is already being hyped as one of the closest in years. But now, with Hamilton settling in at a frightening pace, the question isn't just whether Ferrari is ready to fight for the title. The real question is, can they dominate it? Hamilton's confidence after his first runs in the SF25 wasn't just PR fluff. He was legitimately shocked by how good the car felt. That is a big deal. If a guy who has spent the last decade winning in Mercedes-built rocket ships suddenly feels at home in a Ferrari this quickly, you better believe that means something. The problem for Ferrari's rivals? This is just the beginning. They aren't even at full power yet. Let's take a step back and consider what Ferrari has done differently this time. Over the last decade, they've either been too slow to develop, or worse, made the wrong decisions entirely. But under Frederic Vasseur, Ferrari has fundamentally changed how they operate. The SF25 isn't just faster, it's smarter. The aerodynamics team has finally delivered a car that doesn't require a PhD in black magic to extract performance. The suspension changes have finally fixed the rear instability that made life miserable for their drivers last year. And crucially, the engine department seems to have cracked the code on power deployment, making this car not just fast, but consistently fast across a race distance. But here's the brutal reality. Testing means nothing unless it translates into race day dominance. Bahrain will be the true proving ground. If Ferrari shows up and goes toe-to-toe with Red Bull and McLaren, the entire dynamic of the season shifts. Red Bull is used to being untouchable, especially in the Verstappen era. But if suddenly, after years of Ferrari hype leading to nothing, the Scuderia finally delivers a weapon that actually works, we could be witnessing the beginning of a new dynasty. Then there's the Hamilton factor. Love him or hate him, there's one thing you can't deny. He is the greatest race day driver on the grid. Sure, Verstappen has been an unstoppable force lately, but let's be honest, he's been winning with a car that has been, at times, miles ahead of the competition. The true test of a driver is how they perform in an actual fight. And if Ferrari is finally competitive, Hamilton is the last person you want in your mirrors. His ability to read races, manage tires, and execute under pressure is second to none. But for Hamilton, there's one major problem. Leclerc is not going to back down. And why should he? He's waited years for Ferrari to deliver him a car worthy of his talent. Now that he might actually have it, there's no chance he's just going to step aside and let Hamilton walk in and take the crown. Ferrari may say that both drivers are equal, but that's never how it works in F1. If Hamilton starts strong, expect Ferrari to shift their full support behind him. But if Leclerc establishes himself early, Hamilton might find himself fighting not just Verstappen and Norris, but his own damn team. We've seen this movie before. Alonso versus Hamilton at McLaren. Vettel versus Webber at Red Bull. Rosberg versus Hamilton at Mercedes. When you put two elite drivers in a team capable of winning, things get ugly fast. Ferrari knows they're sitting on a ticking time bomb. The question is, who will blow up first? What makes the situation even more volatile is that both Hamilton and Leclerc know exactly what's at stake. For Leclerc, this is his best chance yet to prove that Ferrari made the right call keeping him all these years. If he lets Hamilton outshine him, Ferrari's future will be built around Lewis, and Leclerc will be relegated to supporting act, just like Barrichello, Massa, and Raikkonen before him. But if Leclerc outperforms Hamilton, it'll be his team, and Hamilton will be forced to adapt to a role he's never played before, number 2. For Hamilton, the stakes are even higher. This isn't just about winning a championship. This is about legacy. He has a chance to do what no one has done since Schumacher. Turn Ferrari into a championship-winning force again. But if he fails, if he loses to Leclerc, then his time at Ferrari risks becoming just another failed experiment. That's the nightmare scenario. That's what he cannot afford. And just when you thought this season couldn't get any crazier, let's talk about the other wild card, McLaren. No one is talking about them as a serious title threat yet, but they absolutely should be. Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri have one of the strongest driver pairings on the grid, and McLaren's development curve is insane. Last season, they closed the gap to Red Bull faster than anyone expected. If they take another step forward in 2025, they could very well be in this fight from day one. But let's be real, the biggest threat to Ferrari isn't Red Bull or McLaren. It's Ferrari. If they get their strategy calls wrong, if they fall back into old habits, if they let internal politics get in the way, they could throw away a golden opportunity. They've done it before. They cannot afford to do it again. As we head into testing, one thing is crystal clear. This isn't just another season. This is a war. A war between teams, between drivers, between legacies. Ferrari versus Red Bull. Hamilton versus Leclerc. Verstappen versus literally anyone who tries to take his crown. The stage is set. The pieces are moving. And we're about to find out whether 2025 will be the year Ferrari finally breaks the curse, or if they're doomed to watch yet another title slip through their fingers. So what do you think? Will Ferrari finally get it right? Can Hamilton really take over the team? Or will Leclerc hold his ground? And most importantly, is this finally the year we get a three-way title fight for the ages? Drop your